Good. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to open this Polk County Board of Commissioners. It's January 21st, 2026. Extra agendas are on the back table by the door, and all commissioners are present. Next up is announcements. I guess that's the announcements and comments for not on this agenda. Anybody like to address the board? Nobody's moving. Next up, approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. Approval of minutes from January 14th, 2026.
So moved. Second.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimous. And approval of the consent calendar.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. For next step is for the Polk County audit for 2024-2025. So Brad, welcome. Is Kathy joining you today?
No, Kathy actually caught a very nasty cold, so she's not feeling too well. So it's just me today.
Right.
So, I was going to mention I was doing a presentation last night at another county, and I did my presentation, and apparently I was much briefer than their prior auditor. Their prior auditor, they made a comment that he took 45 minutes going through the report.
No way.
So if you'd like me to kill this 45 minutes.
Can we determine the time? I move.
Yeah. So yeah, I couldn't imagine talking for 45 minutes about it without boring everybody and myself to death. So we won't do that. But yeah, so once again, I'm Brad Bingenheimer, partner with Singer Lewack. And once again, we've had the pleasure of serving as the auditors for Polk County for the year ended June 30, 2025. You have the audit report and financial statements in front of you. I'll just kind of give you some highlights and things. So first, of course, is our auditor's report. It's what we consider to be an unmodified report, which in a nutshell says that in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position and results of operations of the county for the year ended June 30, 2025. There is one little extra paragraph in there that talks about a new accounting standard that had to be implemented this last year, GASB 101, and that deals with compensated absences. Now, for as long as I've been doing this and way before that, the rule was you basically accrue any compensated absences that would be paid out if the person leaves. GASB said, well, that's great, but we think we could do just a little bit better. So what they now ask is that for those types of leaves that wouldn't be paid out if they left, but are expected to be used in the next year, basically that's sick leave, they expect us to come up with an estimate of the value of the sick leave that is anticipated to be used. So that had an impact of adding another $627,000 liabilities to the county at the beginning of the year. So it's one of those things we have to implement.
Question.
Yes.
So what happens to the reconciled difference? So next year, when you don't hit the estimate, so where does the balance or deficit of that unreconciled difference go?
So as that changes over time, that estimate, because it's going to be something we look at every year and is adjusted, it affects the expenses of their reported on, and this only deals with the first two statements in the report, the government-wide statements, so it will impact the expenses that are reported. So the change we then is allocated based to the various functions of general government, public safety, culture, recreation, highways, streets, those kinds of things. So it gets allocated through that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Another quick question. And that liability of 627,000, is that just based on historical averages of actuals?
Yeah, basically the estimate is supposed to be based on some sort of historical experience. And so, it's an estimate. So there is not one right answer. There's a range of answers, all of which will be materially correct. So So anyways, other than that, there were no other changes to the accounting principles or policies used by the county. The county ended the year with total assets of $106.9 million, which is a slight decrease of 4.7 from the prior year. Total deferred outflows of 22.9 million. Those mostly relate to your pension participation, Oregon PERS. You ended up with liabilities of 70.3 million, which is a slight increase of about $500,000, kind of related part to that new liability that we had to add on. And then deferred inflows of 5.9 million. Also, those are largely related to accounting things related to your participation in PERS, which basically ends up with a net position of $53.6 million, which is a decrease of 3.6 from the prior year. Your total revenues for the year were 45.6 million, which was a decrease of 3.5 million. And that's mainly due to a decrease in your grant revenues. And the good news there is some good news in that your grant revenues went down, which means you're basically spending down the rest of your coronavirus grant funds, which as an auditor, that's all I've been auditing for the last 5 years. I'm kind of glad to see those things go away, you know. Yeah. So, and then your expenses were 78.5 million. That's an increase of 3.3 million. Most of which was all in the health department, which had an overall increase of 3.8 million. So you're on that statement of activities. Your change in net position was $3 million. But as I said, we also had that $600,000 adjustment to for GASB 101 to come to a decrease of 3.6 million in your net position. In looking at your funds, the general fund ended the year with a fund balance of 6.9 million. One of the things we always look at is, what's the percentage of current year expenditures compared to the ending fund balance. So your ending fund balance in the general fund is 26% of the expenditures. Anywhere between 20 and 50% is a good cushion. So you're a little on the low side on that, but still, within the range of, expectation, basically. In the general fund, since it's your primary operating fund, you should have a certain amount, held over each year to fund, expenditures through the first part of the year until you get your tax revenues coming in October, November. So essentially, 26%, that's probably a good spot for you to be in. Public Works had a fund balance of 4.6 million, which is a slight increase of 460,000. Behavioral Health had a ending fund balance of 12.9 million, which is a decrease of 5.5 million. And then the Health Department ended the year with a deficit of 1.6 million, which was a slight decrease of 228,000. Now your ARPA fund ended the year with a fund balance of $11,000. And that's because, the ARPA revenue, if you don't spend it, you have to give it back. So you don't get to recognize it as part of your equity until you actually spend it. Of course, that's a wash. The good news is you only have $132,000 of that money left to spend at the end of June 30, 2025. And then all your other funds had a fund balance of collectively a fund balance of $1.5 million, which was a decrease of $3 million. Largely as you've been expending down some of those other grant funds. So also, of course, I always like to talk about your net pension liability, the largest liability you have. It's reported in your financial statements. You end the year with a net pension liability of $46.9 million, which is, a big number. That was an increase of $2.5 million. Now, the county, if you look at the county compared to overall PERS, your percentage is 0.21% is your percentage of the overall PERS pie. But of course, the most important thing to think about is what's your contribution rate. So your contribution rate currently was at 25.6% of covered compensation. So for every dollar, basically 25 cents is you have to pay in addition to PERS. So besides our report on the financial statements, we also have a report on required under the minimum standards for audits municipal corporations. Those standards require us to look at specific Oregon laws and regulations and perform tests to see if we identify any non-compliance. We did note that there was one over expenditure compared to the budget. That was in health services of $1.5 million. There was a few others that were very minor compared to that, but that was the main thing. And then in the budget preparation for June 30, 25-26 budget, we noticed that there's a few differences between the budget document detail and the LB1 that was published. We tick and tie all those numbers, make sure they all agree. There was a few minor differences. Those things happen all the time. That's probably the number one thing we comment on. And then also, you have historical information in there. And looking at it for the General Fund and Health Services Fund, some of the historical information didn't quite line up with the actuals that had been presented in prior audit reports. Nothing really earth-shattering there, just some minor things to mention, but because they were those instances of non-compliance with law, we have to. And then we have another report in there that talks about that's required under government auditing standards. That report covers two things. First, it covers internal control over financial reporting. So, of course, as part of every audit, we come in, we gain understanding of internal controls. We test some things in internal controls. If we identify anything that we believe needs to be brought to your attention or something that was a weakness that would potentially cause material misstatement, we bring those forth. The good news is we didn't have any findings in that, so we didn't have any issues with internal controls. Also with that, we look at other laws and regulations that could have a material effect on the county's financial statements. Determine if we see any non-compliance. We didn't identify any non-compliance there either. And then in a separate document, we have also issued a report on your federal compliance, which is required because you expend more than $750,000 of federal awards in the year. You actually expended about $4 million of federal money this last year. Of course, the largest portion of that was in that coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery fund grant. That was $2,377,000. That was a program we audited because it covered 58% of all your expenditures. And of course, we did not have any findings there. We look at two things. We look at, of course, did you comply with requirements? And do you have internal controls over those compliance requirements? As I said, our test didn't identify any non-compliance or any internal control problems. So that's the audit in a nutshell in 10 minutes. If you'd like me to go for another 35, I could. But otherwise, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions?
No questions. This looks like a clean audit. There's also a reminder that encumbrances on the county are rising for PERS, and I know for insurance as well, and other factors. So it's the trend, obviously, we're dealing with, as are a lot of other municipalities and counties. So
yes,
yeah.
I think across the board, what we're seeing is that, everybody is dealing with, revenues that have not been increasing as fast as their costs, which is creating a lot of soul searching that has to be done about, what services can the counties continue providing and which ones maybe it can no longer afford to, making some very hard decisions for a lot of places. So I'd also like to thank Caitlin and her staff. They're very easy to work with. We get our information, we can come in, we can do our audit. We know we're a big interruption to their day-to-day work that they have, so we appreciate their efforts and the cooperation in conducting the audit.
Good job, Caitlin and team.
As always, thank you so much. It's always such a thorough report to go through. And hats off to Caitlin and team and staff of Polk County it seems like every year we are just knocking out of the park.
Yeah, doing a very good job.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
This is available to the public for anybody who would like to read the full document.
Yes, it is.
It is. It's available on the Secretary of State's website, as all municipal audits are. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
thank you.
But is there a need for an executive session today? Oh,
We need a motion to adopt.
oh, yes. Thank you very much.
So, thank
To
you.
accept.
So go ahead. I will move to accept that report as presented.
I'll second that acceptance.
Thank you. And with that, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now, is there a need for executive session?
No, sir.
No, sir.
With that, we're adjourned. And thank you.